Hello, this is Andrine, Jewish American Priestess, and I'm coming to you today with another reading of Hebrunes. We're going to do some tarot also, and today we're going to be listening in from messages from our ancestors who have come in the form of feathers today to send you some message for your life path right now as you're heading toward springtime, as the seeds are beneath the earth and being nurtured and blanketed in snow. What is coming up? What has been planted, and what can you expect to see in the coming months? So I have here today 3 feathers from 3 different birds, and I'd like you to choose one of these feathers, and then I will put the timestamp down below, and we'll do a reading from your ancestors based on your choice. So our first feather is this hawk feather, and this is what it looks like. Our second feather is this blue jay feather. And our third feather is the crow. A beautiful black crow feather. So take a moment to discern which of these feathers is calling to you. Frequently, ancestors are seen to come in the form of birds, so choose which one is calling to you today. And we'll see you in your reading. So, for those of you who chose feather number 1, this is, I believe it's a goshawk feather. We had a goshawk in our tree in the backyard a couple of days ago who had found a tasty meal of a rodent and sat there eating it for some period of time. It was quite impressive and majestic. So, this is your feather, and since it came with that devouring that I witnessed the other day, I'm guessing it has something to do with finding what's available and nourishment coming to you at this time. So I'll set our feather up here, and we're going to choose a tarot deck. For you, I think we're going to go with the Wildwood Tarot today. And we're going to pull out 3 cards, and then we're going to also take out some Hebrunes as well. So here comes your deck, and let's see what's the first card that has a message for you about this upcoming growth time from your ancestors. There's card number 1. Well, let's just look at them as they come out. Let's do that. And I have the Page of Vessels. That's the Page of Cups. And here's this beautiful otter. The cups are about water. So we have this otter who's very comfortable in the water. It's sitting on the bank watching for what's coming down. Otters are very playful as well. But generally the Page of Vessels is about the coming of a new thing. The pages in our tarot deck tend to be like the beginning after we've got 1 through 10, and then we start again with the page. And the Page is Vessels is generally holding a cup, and oftentimes there's a fish in that cup. So it can be about a new idea, some kind of birth that is coming for you. So something new, and this otter is waiting on the bank for that fish to come swimming up the river so that, again, he can devour it, very much like our hawk has done. So something new and nutritious is coming. Again, maybe an idea, but again, it could be a literal person who is being gestated, meaning ready to be born. And our second card is this one. And we have the King of Bows, Adder. So that's the King of Wands, and the King of Wands is traditionally someone who is about passion and fire. Wands or bows often they're about wood, and wood is the material that one uses to build a fire. The King of Bows is someone who is very in control of his passions, but passionate at the core. And you have this den of adders who are here to protect, and they're also a fertility symbol again. So we've got some more fertility coming here, more growth, more seeds being planted, and passion, the passion around that act of planting those seeds. So it's very sexual, and a lot of heat and passion and fire that comes with the King of Bows, Adder. So it seems like something is definitely being planted. Some idea or person is being planted for you. Let's see what number 3 has to offer. And our third card is the Eight of Stones. Okay, so the Eight of Stones is about hard work. So here's this person busy at work honing their craft. You can see that it's about skill. So it's about taking a thing and creating with tools to make your mark on the world, whatever it is. You can see that he's got many different vessels here that he's created out of his stone. You've got lamps, you've got bowls, an arrowhead, and also it looks like a fertility goddess as well. So again, more fertility here, but about working toward making the craft, making one's skill into a more perfect design. So those are the 3 tarot cards for this message. And what I'm seeing here in general is that there's a lot of creativity, either, again, physical or with an idea. But we've got this idea that's coming in the form of the Page of Vessels that we're looking for it. We're watching it coming down the stream as this otter sits and watches for that fish that's coming for him, looking for the idea that comes. Then the King of Bows is using the passion of the moment to begin the creation, to begin that fiery process of creating. And then we move into the idea of skill, turning that idea, turning that passion into a regular practice so that we have skill to hone throughout all of this when we are finished with the work. When we're finished with finding the idea, creating it, coming up with the passion for it, then we hone that skill to make it be more what we'd like to see in the world. And I'm going to pull out some Hebrunes as well. And we have the letter Kuf, which is great. The letter Pei, nice. And we have the letter Lamed. Beautiful. Okay, so Kuf is the letter that, it's got this meaning that is both sacredness and the monkey. So Kadosh is sacredness, and Kuf, or Kof, rather, Kof is monkey. The letter is Kuf. You can see it's like a little monkey tail. It actually looks so much like the otter's tail here, which is beautiful because the otter is kind of a playful animal. And kind of a, it's very, very well known for playing in the water, playing with its young, playing as an adult. So, and it is the letter that corresponds to this month, the month of Adar, which is the month of increased joy, as we come into the time close to Purim, which is a celebration where we put on masks and there's a lot of drinking often involved to find joy and also lose oneself. So I love that Kuf is here for this because it is that sacred act of being a fool. It's that sacred fool idea. And the otter is very much a manifester of that, as we have this playfulness, this joy, this just ability to just run around and have a good time, slide down the bank, enjoy, while at the same time, you know, being that sacred animal, that exists in the world. It's one of the most adorable animals in my book, and it's looking, it's searching for nourishment, and that can be spiritual nourishment, it could be actual nourishment, or it can be, again, looking for a new idea, a seed to plant. And again, I love that how that corresponds. I love that his tail looks just like the tail on the Kuf here. Our second letter is the Pei, and Pei is the mouth. It's the mouth of the divine, speaking creation into existence. So it is about the very beginning of a thing, manifesting it, choosing to speak into creation what you would like to see in the world. It's also the number 80, which corresponds to the ultimate manifestation of the infinite, because 8 is an infinity number, and 10 times 8 is that ultimate manifestation of the infinite. So we have this idea of speaking into existence what you'd like to see, and creating the infinite, creating something that will last for in a lifetime, last for longer than a lifetime, tapping into the infinite to create from that primordial material. And along with the King of Bows, that passion that comes with the desire for creation, having mastery over the ability to harness the passion in order to make what we'd like to see in the world, is also right there for us with the King of Bows, those adders that are, again, that sexual idea. And I think about the Ouroboros, where the snake is devouring its own tail. So there's something about, you can see such a knot of snakes. It kind of looks like it's got multiple heads, but it's also this idea of this circularity, and it's sort of the spiral that goes in, and the Pei also kind of looks like it's a knot of snakes itself. It's curled up like that, coiled up like that in a spiral, spiraling infinitely in and infinitely out. It is the letter that corresponds with the planet Venus. So there's something, again, there's masculine energy, but there's also this feminine balancing energy with the Venus planet up there. And right now we've got the planet Venus in the sky that is aligning with the planet Jupiter, which is the largest planet, and the moon. So those three are lined up in the sky right now. And I love that for this card, that we've got the King of Bows with the adder, and this alignment that's happening, as well as the spiral that goes on infinitely in and infinitely out. And with regards to the last letter, we've got the Lamed. And Lamed is the letter that begins the word Lev, which means heart. And it's about reaching up with heart toward connection with the divine, reaching up toward the source of all that provides skill and creation. So we have the Lamed reaching, and it is connecting us with divinity, with heart. And as we try to hone our skills, as we are working toward bringing about a physical manifestation of these ideas, this initial idea, this passion that's sparked the idea, that we have to tap into our heart tap into the source that gives us that heart to sit down and do the work that's necessary to create what it is we'd like to see. And going back to creation here with the pay, speaking, so first having the idea with the sacred spark, speaking our idea into existence by verbalizing what we'd like to see, and then crafting by, again, reaching up with heart to the divine to get that inspiration to tap into that skill as that comes down from above. And in my book, the Lamed corresponds to the star card in tarot, which is about hope and having that desire fulfilled, ultimate manifestation of the wish fulfillment with the star. So our message here from the ancestors, as I'm seeing it today, is in for the month of March, as we come into that this week, that we are here now with this letter Kuf, which corresponds to the month of Adar and the season of Pisces. That we're looking for that fish, as we have with Pisces being that fish. We're looking for that fish coming down the river. We're looking for that idea. We have this animal nature that's playful and fun and also sacred. Looking for that fish swimming down the river to grasp at it. And then with passion, we will speak what we'd like to see manifest in the world with sovereignty. Knowing what it is that we'd like to see in the world, we speak that into existence. And then we take the time afterwards to reach with heart toward the source of all skill and sit down to hone that skill and make it into an actual manifest thing in the world. So for those of you who chose the Goshawk feather, I wish you a beautiful month of March coming in. And I hope to see you here next time. Hello, those of you who chose the blue jay feather. This is what it looks like. It's especially from a scrub jay in our yard. We have several who are friends of ours, and we feed them. They're very smart, actually, and very brave. They come all the way up onto the porch and eat right off the table. So be brave and loud. Take up space, I think, is the first message from the ancestors today. Secondly, we're going to choose 3 cards from the Mythologia Fennica Tarot deck. This is the deck of cards that represent stories from the Finnish mythology, the Kalevala. So we're going to pull out 3. They are loosely affiliated with tarot, but they have their own stories as well. So we'll combine those 2. We'll pull out 3 cards today for you. Let's see what wants to come. I see 1. And in Finnish, the souls of the dead go into the birds. So that seems very appropriate for our feathers here today. There's number 2. And our 3rd card is here, number 3. Let's take a look and see what's up for you today. We have the first card is the Elk of Hisi. The second card is the Witch's Circle. I love these cards so much. They have such interesting pictures and stories. And the third card is Liekyo. Liekyo. Okay. Let's take a look at them. So starting with the Elk of Hisi, it loosely corresponds to the Knight of Swords, which you may recall is a knight on his horse who is tearing forth into the world with his sword drawn, going full blast ahead. in this particular meaning, it is about the passions of youth, grasping challenges and growing self-esteem, accomplishment, spiritual growth, daring, risk-taking, solving problems, charging through obstacles, and being freed from constrained thoughts. So the finished story of the elk of Hisi is that it was an animal that was created specifically by the Hisis, who are spirits, to become supernaturally fast. Lemminkainen, who is a sort of a braggarty hero in the saga, claimed that he could catch any animal, and so he hunted it and tracked it all the way up to the Lapland. The elk was supernaturally fast, as I said, and it fled like the wind. So he was able to catch it, but then his mind started drifting, and he was the elk could hear his thoughts, and it broke free and got away, and eventually he had to ask for help from other gods of the forest and the sky god himself. So it's about being able to have the passion of the hunt, to run forward and be confident, but also to discover one's own humility and ask for assistance when necessary. It is about self-esteem and decisions and success, but also you have to let go of those bad habits of ego that get in the way. So that's what the elk of Hisi speaks to at the early part of the month in this reading. And what we have in the center here, I'll pick this up so you can see it a little better, is the witch's circle. And it is, again, loosely corresponding to the Eight of Swords. And in this case, very loosely corresponding. The Eight of Swords traditionally, well, it is about being trapped, so that makes sense. In this case, you're being trapped by the mushrooms. In many northern mythologies, there is what is known as a fairy circle, where a group of mushrooms grows in a circle, and if you enter inside of it, particularly if you eat of any of the food is offered of you, you lose track of time. You're unable to know your way out, and you may be trapped there either forever or for a very, very long period of time. So this card is about worries that are come from excessive overthinking. If you're very worried and you get trapped in your own mind, difficulty choosing, awakening of consciousness, the shackles of the mind, being freed from them, and the negative cycles and addictions that harbor problems for you. And you can see there are a variety of different kind of haltias or fairies here in the circle. Even the mushrooms have faces in this card. So it's difficult to know which way is up and what's going on and how to break yourself free. I think this is really interesting in terms of this card being the center of the month of Adar, or the month of March coming up, because we have this idea of, well, Purim, which is the festival in Judaism where one drinks to excess, becomes so intoxicated that they can't tell one name from the other. And it's about celebrating joy, but it can become disorienting and getting caught up in, say, for instance, addictions. If you have issues with substances, maybe that's not the best choice for you. It's about being imprisoned in a pattern of your own thoughts and just not being able to find your way out, and losing track of time, losing track of yourself. But it can, so interestingly, as in addition, in contrast to the elk of Hisi, we have, which is all about self-confidence. This card can be about low self-esteem, not being comfortable with your own self and knowing your way out, being surrounded by a group of people who enclose you and prevent you from fulfilling your own plans. Maybe a social circle that is a hindrance. And if you're part of that, you may want to escape from that. And what's important to know is it's just mushrooms. You can wait it out, or you can find your way out if you choose to. You are blinded by the fairies here, so you might believe you do not have a way out, but in fact, there's always a way out. So that's what your central card looks like. And our third card, the Yeikyu, is actually a rather sad card. It is the Three of Swords, or the Three of Air. You can see it looks like a creature that is small and scrawny and just kind of floating in the ether here. Traditional Three of Swords are three swords stabbing through a heart. This card tells the story of, in ancient times, illegitimate children were considered such a burden that they were often left out in the snow and lost. So it speaks to those who have been lost and abandoned, and how that sorrow is coming up. So there's love there, but it is very, very challenging in this case because some love has been lost due to necessity, perhaps because someone is so concerned about the society, what will be thought of them with this illegitimate child, or they do not have the means to care for the child. So it's about opportunities that are left unused, sorrow and loss. And so, and it says, it is said that the soul of a person goes into a bird when it dies. And so a lot of birds are representative of these lost souls, and not just illegitimate children, but anyone who feels lost in the world and is unable to remain in it for whatever reason. So it's important to face that sorrow, to accept that loss, and to understand that we do the best we can under the circumstances. It is, this soul bird is an immortal part of a person. They often return to the parent and give them another chance. But the grief must be grieved, and the loved ones that have left don't have to be forgotten. They're always in our hearts. So interesting message coming from the ancestors today, that we have this passion of moving forward, this ability to get confused and lost on our path, and important to remember and feel the sorrow of those who have come before us. I'm going to tuck something under this card so we can see it a little better with the glare above. There we go. So those are the three cards coming from the Kalevala deck, and I'm going to pull out 3 Hebrunes as well, hopefully give us some further illumination about what we're looking at in the month of March ahead for you. We have the letter Tav, set that right there. We have the letter Samech, perfect. And we have the letter Chet, very nice. Okay, so our letter Tav is actually the final letter of the alphabet. It is the letter that means a signature or a seal, some kind of completion of something. It is the binary foundation of sovereignty and slavery. So here we have, in relation to the elk of Hisi, something that we're trying to complete in order to create the deal that we're trying to make. In the case of Lemminkainen, he was working to win his bride by chasing this elk of Hisi, but he had too much ego in the way. So what we need to think about in this case is, are we sovereign? Have we become a slave to our task? Or can we tap into our inner sovereignty and come to an agreement with ourselves about how to move forward and finish what it is we've started. It corresponds to the moon in the sky, which is to say it rules over the moon in the sky. So there's a certain air of mystery that comes with the Tav. And it is the center of the celestial temple. So there's something about remaining centered as we move forward on our task. And this elk of Hisi is tearing forth into the world, and we need to center ourselves before we go chasing after it, is what I'm seeing here, in order to complete our task. I see the Tav as corresponding to the patriarch Avraham, because he went through on his journey and made all of these different contracts with a bunch of different tribes in the area in order to try to bring unity here. And in the end, he was able to help people to understand that there is only one divine, that despite the fact that people have different names for our sovereign, our deity, it is all the same deity. So the Tav is about making those agreements, signing those contracts that we need to sign, and getting to the end of whatever our task is here. Remembering that we can rely on our own inner sovereignty and embrace the mystery of it, embrace the moon, embrace maybe the darkness that surrounds whatever task that we're finishing, in order to remain humble within this. So that one goes with the elk. And in the center, we have the letter Samekh, which is a circle. And I love that for the witch's circle, or for the fairy circle. Samekh means to be surrounded. Sovev is the word that starts with Samekh here. It's a circle, it's a cycle. It's about circles and cycles and seasons. And it's about being surrounded with protection and comfort, but at the same time, its Paleo-Hebrew form is a thorn. So you can see in the upper left corner of the letter, this little tiny spike here that is remnant of the thorn, because thorn hedges were used to surround fields for protection. And they kept animals in, and they kept predators out. So even though there is this idea of comfort and surroundedness, there's a little bit of a thorniness to it. And I think that's beautiful with the witch's circle, because we want to be protected, we want to be comforted, even in our indulgence of whatever it is that we're trying to find comfort from, whether it be something intoxicating or just food in general. But it can also come with a little bit of a sharpness that we may not be able to find our way out in that case. And because this is the Eight of Swords, it's got that sharp part to it. And I love that for this central part, this circle. It's just a cycle, it's a circle, it's a temporary thing. It is the number 60 in Gematria, so it speaks to that the 60 minutes in an hour, or the 60 seconds in a minute. So it's just, again, that cycle and those circles that go around and around, but they always come back. And we have time passing whether we recognize its passage or not. So I love that Samekh, our surrounding with a thorn, is right here in the center of our witch's circle. So we need to be aware of that when we get to the center of the month. When we find ourselves feeling stuck, we can know that this is temporary, that we're not actually stuck, and that we can find our way through. And for our final letter, we have the letter Chet. And Chet is the letter that begins the word Chai. So it's about life. And it's also the letter that begins the word Choshek, which is darkness. And I think that's so beautiful for Liekio, because we have this, this life that was potentially lost, and they've been lost in the darkness, but they can find their way back to life. The letter Chet is the number 8 in Gematria, which represents the infinite. It's one more than all the days of creation. The 7 days of creation, we get one more, and that's the eternal. So it corresponds to that idea of eternity, that which is ongoing, the soul, the spirit, the soul bird of each person who has been lost. And knowing that life continues, that the life of the spirit or the soul continues even after the body is no longer with us. And from our ancestors, that's such a beautiful message, because we may have ancestors who have had these kind of losses where a child was lost or a relative was lost, and we have to learn to grieve those. We have to come into healing partnership with our ancestors in order to move forward into the next iteration. So I love that we have the het here. So as I'm seeing this here, for those of you who have a blue jay feather, we have this beginning of the month, which looks like a dramatic bursting forth of energy and moving towards something, maybe signing or sealing some kind of deal. And we're heading off, and we have to remember not to let our ego get in the way. We have to remember that we are only seeing part of the very beginning of the journey. That we may be chasing after this elk, but if we let our mind get away from us, that it can escape again, and then we need to ask for assistance when we need to complete the task. And as we come into the center of the month, maybe even into the Purim part where we're intoxicated or trying to find some sort of joy, maybe through intoxicants or some other indulgence, that we need to surround ourselves with love and protection so that we don't fall into this fairy circle and get lose track of our time. And if we do lose track of time, we need to remember that everything is temporary. Everything will come around and go around. That we will find our way out. To not be fooled into believing this is how it will always be, that we're always going to be stuck in that witch's circle, but find our way out to the other side. And when we get to near the end of the month, remember to grieve those losses. And maybe call on the ancestors who still want to be remembered and bring back their memory in life to face our shadow, anything that we have done that may have caused loss, and grieve the losses that we have in our life through the darkness, bringing life back to them, their memories here. And so for those of you who chose the blue jay feather, this has been your reading for today for the month of March, and I will look forward to seeing you here next time. Hello, those of you who chose the crow feather. This is actually from a crow in my neighborhood. I do have a relationship with them. I have started to feed them at the request of my ancestors because the souls of the dead are said to reside in the birds. And so my ancestors requested that I take time to feed them. And so now every time I go outside, I have the crows come to see me. They say, "Are you the lady with the peanuts?" And I say, "I am the lady with the peanuts." One of them almost dive-bombed me yesterday when I went outside because it's been snowing here, and it's been difficult for them to find food. So that's the crow feather. They're familiars in my world, and a direct communicator with the other side. I'm going to pull out 3 cards today from the Aquarian Tarot, for those of you who chose the crow feather, and we're going to see what our month of March is going to look like for you. There's number 1. There's number 2. And let's see if we can get one more card for our crow feather people. It'll talk to us about the month of March. Okay. All right, our first card coming out is the 5 of Pentacles. Our second card is the 10 of Pentacles. Okay. That's quite a leap. And our third card is the 8 of Cups. All right. Okay, so what I'm seeing here for you is the beginning of the month is looking a little bit like there's a certain feeling of impoverishment, whether it's actual or not is unknown. But here we have this couple in the snow who are walking next to a church window, or a stained glass window, let's say. We don't know whether it's a church or another building of some sort, but there's light and warmth within. 5 pentacles. So it's about taking care of the body and having fewer resources to do that than usual. But in this case, at least, there are 2 people together on this little journey. So as we begin the month, maybe there's a little bit of hardship, maybe a little bit of a challenge going on with regards to the resources that are available to you, whether that be food security or home security or just emotional security. But Pentacles tend to have to do with physical resources, so maybe there's a financial issue. But you've got somebody with you. You've got a partnership with you. So even though things are challenging right now in the physical realm, you have somebody who's walking with you, alongside you. And the other thing to remember is that this window they're walking past is lit up. And as they come around the corner, they'll find the doorway. They're not very far from the place that has the warmth and the light. So something to keep in mind as you start out this month, that maybe there's a feeling of challenge toward resources, but it's very close that you'll be coming to the doorway. And here we have the doorway. What comes next is, well, it jumps right to the 10 of Pentacles. And the 10 of Pentacles is about wealth. It's about home and family and estate. Great wealth. The 10 is a completion card. So something is coming to an end, or you've reached the end with the riches that have been bestowed upon you. So that 5 by the middle of the month will turn to 10, and then we will have the resources with family and home and food and abundance and just a lot of legacy of estate. And that could be, again, physical or financial, or it could be also the feeling of spiritual wealth. And when I think about estate with regards to the ancestors, it's our legacy, whatever it is that we're getting from our ancestors, that will be coming in great abundance in the center of the month. You have this idea of something of wealth that is coming to you from the previous generations. You're finally coming into the 10. You're coming into the completion of whatever estate is coming toward you. So that's a pretty great idea from the ancestors. And by the end of the month, I'm seeing the 8 of Cups is, it's a little bit about sorrow. Cups are about emotions. And this person is walking away from these cups voluntarily. They're not being forced away, but something that has been difficult perhaps, or maybe it has been abundant, but you're needing to leave it behind. And maybe you're needing to leave it behind in order to maintain what you've received by the 10 of Pentacles. So there's a voluntary retreat, and it could be temporary, of walking away from the cups. Something emotionally has been painful, and you may need to move on to the next iteration by leaving whatever's been difficult and emotionally cumbersome for you. So that's what I'm seeing coming up for you in the month of March. And I'm going to pull out 3 Hebrunes as well to illuminate further these messages from the ancestors. Our first Hebrune, we have the letter Ayin. In the window. I love that. Our second Hebrune is the letter Hey. Nice. And our third is the letter Tav. Okay. So Ayin is the letter that represents an eye. So it's about seeing. It's about being able to be seen, seeing forward, but it's also about being watched over. So as we're in this situation where we have some material poverty, we're being watched over by this casement. The light that's within is watching over us. The divine is watching over us as we struggle. But we're also going to be able to see our way forward. The lovely thing about Ayin is it's both and. It's both being able to see your way clearly and also being watched over by divinity. It is the number 70 in Gematria, so it speaks to this idea of a completion, 7 days of creation, but 10 times 7 brings us to 7, and we have this ultimate fulfillment of what has come to pass. So something is coming to an end, perhaps. Maybe hopefully this poverty is coming to an end, that we'll be able to see our way forward soon. And it also is the foundation of laughter in the Sefer Yetzirah, in the translation that I've studied. Laughter is the character trait that is affiliated with the letter Ayin. So we'll be able to see and maybe laugh a little bit, especially beautiful in the month of Adar as we come into Purim, and this idea of joy increasing. Being able to see our way clear, being able to know that we're watched over even in our most impoverished circumstances, and maybe finding a little bit of joy and laughter in it as we come to the conclusion of whatever it is that's been ongoing for some period of time. And in our central letter, we have the letter He. The letter He is the letter that begins the word Hineni, meaning here I am. And so it speaks to presence, being able to be present with yourself, being present with the divine, and remaining open to what is coming for you. And in context of the Ten of Pentacles, it's just this beautiful idea that out of presence can come all of this wealth. And within the wealth, we have the resources then to remain present, to be available for service. Once we have been gifted from our ancestors or from the universe, the Tens of Pentacles that are coming toward us, suddenly we're in a place where we feel comfortable enough to maybe be of service and to give back what we have been given. So the letter He is that letter of being present, of being available for service. It's also the letter that corresponds to the foundation of sight. So interesting that we have the eye here and vision, and the letter He here and sight. So we're seeing twice. We're seeing all the way through from the beginning to the middle of the month at least. It also corresponds to the organ, the liver in the body, which is about discernment. So being able to discern what is toxic and what is healthy in our body as it filters the blood. We get to discern what is toxic and what is healthy for us as we take in our world and remain present and vigilant to what we're needing to see in the world. I just took a workshop on the Musar trait of enlightened awareness. So I love that we have both the Ayin here and the He here, speaking to vision, being able to see forward with some sort of enlightenment what is coming next. And by the end of the month, like I said, we have this this voluntary retreat to walk away from what has been painful for us, and we have the letter Tav. And Tav is the final letter of the alphabet. It is the letter that means a signature or a seal on something that has come to an end, and then we sign it. Perhaps a contract needed to be signed, and we're letting go of something that's been painful. And that's the good thing about the walking away, is that whatever it is that we've been walking away from, it has been a difficulty. It's been painful, and it's time to let it go. So we have this signature and seal on our contract. I love that Tav corresponds to the moon in the sky, and we have the moon up above here in this picture as we walk away from that painful, difficult time. And bring it to a close, finally. Something that's been hanging on for a long time. We're finally able to close it out. It is the letter that is the binary transformation of sovereignty and slavery. So perhaps we've been enslaved to something for some period of time, and now we can walk into our sovereignty. Since we've got our 10 of Pentacles here, we can leave behind the pain and trauma of whatever has caused us this difficulty all along. So as we begin the month, we still feel a little impoverished, knowing that just around the corner we're going to see what it is that's going to bring us comfort, that's going to bring us light and illumination, that enlightened illumination. And in the center of the month, we're going to come into some kind of resources, maybe ancestral resources, something from our legacy, from our home, our homestead, or our family, or at least comfort for our family in all of this. And we have the admonition to remain present, to be available for service now that we are resourced. Find our way to see forward again with sight. How can we now give back now that we have been given the wealth that we have been waiting for? And as we finish out the month, we'll be stepping away from the pain and the difficulty, the emotional turmoil that has been up until now, as we walk away under the moon with the letter Tav, saying, we are done with this now. We've signed our contract, we've sealed whatever it is we need to seal, and we can call it finished, be done with it. So for those of you who chose the crow feather, this has been your reading. I hope that you have a beautiful month of March, and I will see you here next time.